What if two of the world's most influential voices clashed over one of the most personal and controversial issues of our time? What if a tech billionaire known for pushing boundaries challenged the traditions of a global religious institution that has shaped millions of lives for centuries? The question isn't just theoretical, it exploded into reality when Elon Musk posted a tweet that set the internet ablaze. Why can't love be limitless? Why must tradition bind who we can love? Within minutes, the tweet went viral, sparking a fierce debate across social media platforms, news outlets, and even government chambers. Some hailed Elon's words as visionary, a bold call to embrace progress and equality. Others saw it as a direct challenge to deeply held beliefs, a provocation to an institution that had long resisted change on the topic of same-sex marriage. The Catholic Church, led by the recently elected Pope Leo XIV, was quick to respond. The Vatican's official statement was firm but measured, emphasizing the Church's commitment to its teachings while inviting dialogue. Yet behind the scenes, the tension was palpable. Elon Musk, known for his ventures into space exploration, electric vehicles, and artificial intelligence, had unexpectedly found himself at the center of a cultural and spiritual storm. The world watched as a potential confrontation between modernity and tradition unfolded. But what no one expected was how this conflict would evolve into a conversation, one that would challenge assumptions on both sides and perhaps, just perhaps, pave the way for something new. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? To understand the magnitude of this moment, it's important to look deeper at the two figures at the heart of the debate. Elon Musk is a man shaped by contradictions. Born in Pretoria, South Africa, his childhood was marked by curiosity and hardship. As a boy, he was often bullied, finding refuge in books and the dream of creating technologies that could change the world. His journey took him from a young immigrant struggling in Canada to a Silicon Valley titan whose companies had redefined industries. Yet, behind the image of the visionary entrepreneur lies a man grappling with complex views on society, love, and progress. His personal relationships, from his early romances to his recent high-profile partnerships, reveal a man searching for connection in a fast-moving world. On the other side stands Pope Leo XIV, a leader who emerged from humble roots in rural Italy. Unlike the stereotypical image of a distant, unyielding pontiff, Leo XIV carries the weight of centuries of church tradition but also a heart burdened by the struggles of his flock. His rise through the church hierarchy was marked by moments of doubt and introspection, particularly on issues of family and love. Though conservative in many respects, he has long harbored private questions about how the church might evolve in a rapidly changing world. The initial spark that lit this global debate came unexpectedly. Elon Musk's tweet was more than just a statement, it was a challenge to the status quo. It questioned centuries-old doctrines and invited people to imagine a world where love was not limited by gender or tradition. The response was swift and polarized. Conservative voices within the church condemned the tweet as reckless, a threat to sacred teachings. Progressive groups applauded Musk's courage, seeing in him a champion for equality and human rights. The Vatican prepared an official response, balancing defense of doctrine with an openness to dialogue. The world found itself divided, with social media feeds flooded by arguments, memes, and heated exchanges. Protesters gathered outside churches, while online communities debated fiercely. Elon's team was bombarded with messages, some supportive, many hostile. As the controversy grew, an unexpected development occurred. The Vatican invited Elon Musk to a symposium on family and society, to be held at the heart of the church in Rome. The invitation shocked many and delighted others. For Elon, it was a chance to step beyond the digital battlefield and engage in face-to-face dialogue. For Pope Leo XIV, it was an opportunity to address the issue directly, to show the world that faith and reason could coexist. What followed was a journey into the unknown. Elon's arrival at the Vatican was like stepping into another world, ornate halls echoing with centuries of history, the weight of tradition pressing down on every corner. He met Cardinal Vieri, a staunch conservative and vocal critic, whose sharp questions tested Elon's convictions. Yet Elon was undeterred. The symposium was broadcast live, drawing millions of viewers globally. The debate between Elon Musk and Pope Leo XIV was more than a clash of ideas, it was a human story. Elon spoke passionately about technology, progress, and the boundless potential of love. The Pope responded with dignity, emphasizing faith, family, and the Church's teachings. As the debate unfolded, personal stories surfaced. Elon recounted a close friend's painful experience with discrimination, appealing to the audience's empathy. The Pope shared a letter from a parishioner struggling to reconcile faith and identity, revealing cracks in the traditional stance. For a moment, the world held its breath as these two giants found unexpected common ground, a shared belief in the importance of love, dignity, and human connection. But the story was far from over. A sudden crisis threatened to derail the conversation. An extremist group, opposed to any change, attempted to disrupt the symposium with threats of violence. Security lockdowns ensued, tensions soared, and both Elon and the Pope faced fears beyond intellectual debate. In that moment of crisis, they stood united, condemning violence and calling for peace. Their joint statement shocked many and offered a glimmer of hope amid chaos. Yet, backlash followed. Conservative factions within the Church resisted the Pope's openness, while some in the tech world criticized Elon for engaging with religious authorities. Both men experienced isolation and pressure, wrestling with inner doubts about their roles. Behind closed doors, Elon questioned whether his tech-driven worldview could truly bridge spiritual divides, while the Pope wrestled with the challenge of adapting doctrine without fracturing the Church. A turning point came when Elon and Pope Leo XIV met privately in the Sistine Chapel, sharing a candid conversation free from cameras and public scrutiny. In that quiet space, they revealed their humanity, fears, hopes, and a mutual desire to understand one another. News of their meeting leaked, capturing the world's imagination and shifting public opinion toward more nuanced dialogue. Building on this momentum, the Pope proposed a groundbreaking idea, a church committee to study same-sex marriage and family dynamics, inviting Elon to serve as an advisor. The proposal shocked conservatives and energized reformers, signaling a potential shift in the centuries-old institution. The committee's first meetings were tense but hopeful, as testimonies from LGBTQ+ Catholics brought personal stories to the forefront. Elon witnessed the profound human cost of exclusion firsthand, deepening his commitment to the cause. Progress was slow and met with setbacks, but the unlikely friendship between Elon and the Pope grew stronger, rooted in shared respect and a vision for a more inclusive future. After months of deliberation, the Church issued a nuanced statement recognizing the dignity of same-sex unions, stopping short of full endorsement but marking a historic middle ground. Elon reflected on the limits of technology in solving social issues, while the Pope contemplated the evolving nature of faith and doctrine. Both had changed, matured in empathy and understanding. Their story concludes with a message for all: love transcends boundaries and fear, and courageous dialogue can spark transformation. Life is full of surprises, but love will always lead the way. What's your story? How do you find hope when the world seems divided? Remember to hit subscribe and share your thoughts below. This story might just be the beginning of a new conversation for us all. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? Elon Musk's story begins far from the flashing lights of Silicon Valley, in the sprawling city of Pretoria, South Africa. Born to a Canadian mother and a South African father, Elon grew up in a household where curiosity was encouraged but conformity was expected. As a child, he was often described as intense, a boy who preferred books and ideas over games and sports. His parents' divorce when he was young left a quiet ache, one that shaped much of his early worldview. In school, Elon faced bullying, sometimes cruel, sometimes isolating. Books became his refuge. Science fiction opened doors to worlds beyond his immediate struggles, planting seeds of a future shaped by innovation and boundless possibility. Yet, his relationship with family was complex. His father, Errol, was a stern figure, often critical and distant, while his mother, May, provided steady encouragement, instilling in Elon a sense of resilience. This tension between expectation and independence drove Elon to seek a path different from his origins. At 17, Elon left South Africa, moving first to Canada and then to the United States, chasing dreams fueled by technology and entrepreneurship. Early ventures were a mix of triumph and failure. Zip2, a city guide software company, was a modest success, sold for nearly $300 million. Then came X.com, which evolved into PayPal, transforming online payments forever. Behind these successes was a man driven not just by profit, but by an idealism rooted in change, changing how humans live, connect, and even travel. Elon's personal life was equally complex. Relationships came and went, often under the glare of public attention. His marriages, divorces, and high-profile partnerships reflected a man searching for stability amid the whirlwind of his ambitions. Love, for Elon, was both a source of strength and vulnerability. These experiences influenced his views on love and society, pushing him toward ideas that challenged traditional norms. His public statements on marriage, relationships, and even gender identity have sometimes sparked controversy, reflecting a mind constantly questioning boundaries. On the other side of this story is Pope Leo XIV, born Angelo Moretti in a small Italian village nestled between olive groves and vineyards. From an early age, Angelo was drawn to the church, finding solace in faith during times of hardship. His family was devout but poor, instilling in him a sense of duty and humility that would guide his life. Angelo's rise within the church was marked by devotion and intellectual rigor. He studied theology and philosophy, becoming known for his thoughtful sermons and compassionate leadership. Yet, he was not immune to doubt. The rapid changes of the modern world, scientific discoveries, social movements, cultural shifts, often challenged his beliefs and the church's teachings. As a young priest, he wrestled with questions about how to reconcile tradition with a changing society. His election as Pope Leo XIV came at a time of global turmoil and division. With the world polarized over issues of identity, family, and morality, the new pope faced enormous pressure to uphold the church's doctrines while responding to the needs of a diverse flock. Leo XIV carried the weight of centuries of teachings but also a quiet hope that faith could evolve without losing its core. His relationships within the Vatican were shaped by both allies and adversaries. Cardinals who favored strict adherence to tradition often clashed with more progressive voices advocating for reform. Leo XIV navigated these tensions with care, aware that his decisions would reverberate beyond the walls of the Vatican to millions of Catholics worldwide. When Elon Musk's tweet challenged the Church's position on same-sex marriage, Pope Leo XIV saw both threat and opportunity. The statement that followed was firm in doctrine but invited conversation, signaling a willingness to engage rather than retreat. The story that followed was not just about two individuals but about the collision of worlds, technology and tradition, innovation and faith, progress and preservation. Social media amplified the conflict, turning it into a global spectacle. The polarized reactions revealed deep divisions in society, where personal beliefs, cultural values, and religious identities intersected. Supporters of Elon praised his courage and vision, arguing that love should transcend all boundaries. Critics accused him of arrogance, disrespecting a sacred institution and the beliefs of millions. Inside the Vatican, the atmosphere was tense. Behind closed doors, discussions about how to respond were heated. Some urged a hardline stance, warning against compromise. Others advocated for dialogue, hoping to find a path forward that respected doctrine but acknowledged contemporary realities. Elon's invitation to the Vatican Symposium was both a surprise and a challenge. For him, it was an opportunity to move beyond the battlefield of tweets and headlines to a face-to-face exchange. For the Pope, it was a chance to demonstrate that faith could engage with modernity without losing its soul. Elon's arrival in Rome was a study in contrasts. The high-tech world he inhabited, filled with gadgets and data, seemed distant from the marble halls and ancient relics of the Vatican. Yet, the city's history of art, philosophy, and spirituality spoke to his own fascination with human potential. Meeting Cardinal Vieri was a moment of reckoning. The cardinal's sharp intellect and staunch conservatism tested Elon's ability to defend his views. Yet Elon was undeterred, using the opportunity to articulate a vision of love that was expansive and inclusive. The public debate was a historic moment. Broadcast live to millions, it transcended simple arguments to become a profound conversation about humanity. Elon's impassioned appeals to reason, progress, and empathy challenged the Church's teachings. Pope Leo XIV responded with grace, emphasizing the sacredness of tradition, the importance of family, and the spiritual dimensions of love. The personal stories shared during the debate deepened its impact. Elon's recounting of a friend's struggle with discrimination humanized the abstract arguments. The Pope's sharing of a letter from a parishioner wrestling with faith and identity revealed the internal conflicts within the Church itself. For a brief moment, the two men found unexpected common ground. A shared belief in the power of love and the dignity of every human being. But this fragile hope was tested by external forces. Threats from extremist groups seeking to disrupt the dialogue brought fear and uncertainty. The response from Elon and the Pope, a joint condemnation of violence and a call for peace, was a powerful statement of unity. The aftermath was marked by backlash. Conservative factions within the Church saw the Pope's openness as betrayal, while some tech insiders criticized Elon's engagement with religious authority as naive or opportunistic. Both men faced isolation and pressure, forcing them to confront their own doubts and fears. Their private meeting in the Sistine Chapel was a turning point. Away from cameras and crowds, Elon and Pope Leo XIV shared a candid exchange that revealed their humanity and a mutual desire to understand one another. This moment of vulnerability sparked new hope for dialogue and reconciliation. The news of their meeting spread quickly, shifting public opinion and inspiring more nuanced conversations. Building on this momentum, the Pope's proposal of a committee to study same-sex marriage and family dynamics was a bold step. Elon's invitation to advise the committee surprised many and energized reformers. The committee's first meetings were marked by tension but also hope. Testimonies from LGBTQ+ Catholics brought personal stories to the forefront, highlighting the human cost of exclusion. Elon witnessed these realities firsthand, deepening his commitment. Progress was slow, setbacks inevitable. Yet, the unlikely friendship between Elon and the Pope grew stronger, rooted in respect and a shared vision for a more inclusive future. After months of deliberation, the Church issued a nuanced statement recognizing the dignity of same-sex unions without full endorsement, a historic middle ground. Elon reflected on the limits of technology in solving deep social issues, while Pope Leo XIV contemplated the evolving nature of faith and doctrine. Both men had grown, matured in empathy and understanding. Their journey showed that even the most entrenched conflicts could be bridged through dialogue and courage. Their story ends with a message for all: love transcends boundaries, and by facing difficult questions with openness, transformation is possible. What's your story? How do you find hope in a divided world? Share your thoughts and keep the conversation going. Elon Musk's tweet challenging the Church's stance on same-sex marriage ignited a firestorm, but beneath the surface, the conflict had been simmering for years. The rising tensions exposed fractures within both the public and private spheres, setting the stage for a confrontation that was as much about identity and power as it was about love and faith. In the weeks following Elon's provocative message, social media platforms became battlegrounds where opinions clashed fiercely. Hashtags supporting equality trended alongside calls to preserve tradition. News commentators debated the implications, with some framing it as a cultural revolution, others warning of moral decay. The polarized discourse spilled into communities and families, forcing people to confront uncomfortable questions about beliefs and relationships. Within the Church, the rising conflict revealed divisions. Cardinals and bishops voiced conflicting opinions in private meetings and public statements. Some hardliners insisted that the doctrine on marriage was immutable, warning that any concession would undermine the Church's authority. Others, more progressive, argued for compassionate engagement and reinterpretation, recognizing the need to address the lived realities of LGBTQ+ Catholics. Pope Leo XIV found himself caught in the middle, balancing these forces while maintaining the unity of the Church. Elon, meanwhile, faced backlash not only from religious groups but also from unexpected quarters. Certain political allies distanced themselves, concerned that the debate might distract from broader technological and economic goals. Within his companies, employees were divided, some inspired by his stand on social issues, others uneasy about mixing activism with business leadership. The rising conflict took a personal toll. Elon received threats and hate messages but also letters from strangers sharing their stories of love and discrimination. His public appearances became charged, with supporters and protesters often clashing. The tension heightened when a planned interview with a major news network spiraled into a heated exchange, reflecting the broader societal discord. As the controversy escalated, a glimmer of hope emerged. Vatican insiders leaked that the Pope was considering a rare gesture, inviting Elon Musk to a symposium on family and social issues. The invitation was unprecedented, signaling a potential opening for dialogue across deep divides. The announcement sent ripples worldwide, sparking anticipation and skepticism in equal measure. Preparations for the symposium were intense. Vatican officials grappled with how to frame the event to balance respect for tradition with openness to new perspectives. Elon's team strategized on how to present his views in a way that might foster understanding rather than confrontation. Media outlets clamored for access, while advocacy groups mobilized to influence the narrative. When the day arrived, the atmosphere in Rome was electric. The symposium was held in a grand hall adorned with tapestries and religious iconography, a stark contrast to the digital platforms where much of the debate had unfolded. The audience included clergy, scholars, activists, journalists, and citizens from around the world, all tuned in live. The event began with opening remarks from Pope Leo XIV, who acknowledged the challenges facing families today and the importance of love and dignity. Elon took the stage next, his presence commanding attention as he spoke passionately about the transformative power of love and the need for society to embrace inclusivity. The exchange between Elon and Cardinal Vieri, a leading conservative voice, was intense. The cardinal questioned Elon on theological grounds, arguing that marriage was divinely instituted between a man and a woman. Elon responded with appeals to empathy, science, and social progress, urging the Church to reconsider its stance in light of human rights and the changing world. The debate oscillated between tension and moments of understanding. Elon shared personal anecdotes about friends and colleagues who had faced discrimination, humanizing the abstract issue. The Pope shared letters from parishioners struggling with their faith and identity, revealing cracks in the Church's unified front. Throughout the event, viewers witnessed a rare openness to dialogue, even amidst disagreement. However, the symposium was not without turmoil. Midway through the event, a credible threat from extremist groups seeking to disrupt the gathering forced a lockdown, heightening tensions and fears. Security was tightened, and both Elon and the Pope addressed the audience jointly, condemning violence and calling for peace. This moment of solidarity transcended ideological divides and became a defining point in the unfolding story. The crisis tested the resolve of both leaders and underscored the urgency of finding common ground. Following the symposium, backlash was swift and multifaceted. Conservative factions within the Church criticized the Pope for what they saw as undue accommodation, warning of heresy and division. Some tech community members questioned Elon's decision to engage with religious authorities, fearing it compromised his image as a disruptor. Meanwhile, LGBTQ+ activists expressed mixed feelings, hope for progress tempered by frustration at slow change. Both Elon and Pope Leo XIV felt the weight of isolation and pressure. Elon wrestled with doubts about whether technology and activism could bridge spiritual divides. The Pope confronted the challenge of adapting doctrine without fracturing the Church's unity. In the midst of this turmoil, a private meeting between Elon and the Pope was arranged in the Sistine Chapel. Away from the cameras and public scrutiny, the two men shared a candid conversation. They spoke not as adversaries but as human beings seeking understanding. Elon expressed his hopes for a future where love knew no bounds. The Pope shared his fears of losing the spiritual foundation that had guided millions. The meeting revealed the complexity of their positions and the possibility of empathy beyond rhetoric. News of their encounter leaked, capturing global attention and shifting the conversation toward nuance and dialogue. Encouraged by this breakthrough, Pope Leo XIV proposed establishing a committee within the Church to study same-sex marriage and family dynamics, inviting Elon to serve as an advisor. The proposal shocked many and energized reformers, signaling a potential shift in an institution known for its resistance to change. The committee's initial meetings were tense but hopeful. Personal testimonies from LGBTQ+ Catholics brought raw emotion and urgency to the discussions. Elon witnessed firsthand the profound impact of exclusion and the desire for acceptance within the faith community. Progress was uneven and met with resistance, but the committee became a symbol of cautious hope. Throughout this period, the relationship between Elon and the Pope deepened, built on mutual respect and a shared vision for a more inclusive future. Their unlikely friendship became a beacon for those seeking reconciliation between faith and modernity. After months of deliberation, the Church issued a nuanced statement. While stopping short of full endorsement of same-sex marriage, it acknowledged the dignity of same-sex unions and called for pastoral care and respect. The statement marked a historic middle ground, a step forward in a centuries-old dialogue. Elon reflected on the limitations of technology in addressing deeply human and spiritual issues, recognizing that progress required more than innovation, it required compassion and patience. Pope Leo XIV contemplated the evolving nature of doctrine and the need for the Church to remain relevant in a changing world without losing its essence. Their journeys demonstrated profound growth and maturity. The story of Elon Musk and Pope Leo XIV teaches that even the most entrenched conflicts can find pathways to understanding through courage, empathy, and dialogue. Love, in its many forms, remains a powerful force for transformation. As the world continues to wrestle with questions of identity, faith, and progress, this story invites us all to consider, how do we find common ground amid division? How do we hold on to hope when faced with seemingly insurmountable differences? The conversation is far from over, but the courage to engage is a beginning. What's your story? How do you navigate the complexities of belief and love? Share your thoughts and keep the dialogue alive. Together, we can move toward a future where understanding bridges divides and love leads the way. The climactic journey began unexpectedly when Elon Musk accepted the Vatican's invitation to attend a private summit in Rome focused on faith, technology, and social change. The news stunned the world. For months, tensions had boiled between Elon's outspoken challenges to religious tradition and the Vatican's efforts to uphold centuries-old doctrines. Now, the two seemingly opposite forces were preparing to meet face to face, signaling a new chapter in a story defined by confrontation and dialogue. Elon arrived in Rome on a crisp spring morning. The ancient city greeted him with a mixture of solemnity and grandeur. As he stepped out of the sleek black car, the contrast between his futuristic world and Rome's historic weight was striking. The cobblestone streets, towering cathedrals, and whispered prayers of the faithful stood in stark opposition to the electric hum of Silicon Valley's innovation hubs. Yet, Elon felt a strange kinship with the city, a place where the past and future collided daily, where ideas about humanity's purpose had been debated for millennia. His first encounter was with Cardinal Vieri, a man known for his intellectual rigor and steadfast commitment to church teachings. The cardinal's piercing gaze betrayed skepticism but also a flicker of curiosity. Their conversation began cautiously, each testing the other's resolve. Elon spoke passionately about progress, inclusion, and the transformative power of love in all its forms. Cardinal Vieri countered with appeals to tradition, divine law, and the sacredness of marriage as defined by the Church. Despite their differences, the dialogue remained respectful, hinting at possibilities beyond entrenched positions. Over the next few days, Elon toured Vatican City, absorbing its history and spirituality. The Sistine Chapel's frescoes spoke to him in ways he hadn't anticipated, visions of human struggle, redemption, and hope painted in vivid color. These scenes stirred something deep within, prompting reflections on faith and humanity that went beyond technology or politics. The summit itself was held in the Apostolic Palace, a setting both majestic and intimidating. Delegates from around the world gathered, bishops, theologians, scientists, activists, and journalists, each representing a facet of the complex debate on family, love, and societal norms. Elon was both outsider and insider, a symbol of modernity invited into the heart of tradition. The first day was marked by presentations and discussions on the role of technology in shaping human relationships. Elon's remarks emphasized connectivity, empathy, and breaking down barriers of prejudice. He recounted stories of people who had found acceptance through digital communities, highlighting how technology could be a tool for compassion and understanding. The following sessions shifted focus to theology and doctrine. Speakers elaborated on the Church's teachings about marriage, sexuality, and family life, underscoring the spiritual dimensions that guided these beliefs. While some emphasized the unchanging nature of doctrine, others called for nuanced interpretations that could embrace contemporary realities without losing essence. As debates unfolded, tensions surfaced. Conservative voices cautioned against diluting doctrine, fearing a slippery slope away from foundational truths. Reformers pressed for openness, citing the pastoral needs of marginalized communities. Elon found himself navigating these complex dynamics, striving to bridge gaps with reason and empathy. One afternoon, a small group discussion was convened to explore the experiences of LGBTQ+ Catholics. Several individuals shared poignant testimonies of faith, struggle, and longing for acceptance. Their stories brought raw emotion into the room, piercing through abstract theological debates. Elon listened intently, deeply moved by their courage. The weight of these personal narratives underscored the human cost of exclusion and the urgent need for compassionate engagement. That evening, Elon and Pope Leo XIV shared a private dinner. The conversation was candid and unguarded, a rare glimpse into the minds of two men whose worlds seemed poles apart yet were bound by a shared search for meaning. Elon spoke of his vision for humanity's future, one where technology and ethics advanced hand in hand, where love transcended prejudice, and where innovation served the common good. The Pope reflected on the enduring power of faith, the challenges of guiding a global community through change, and the necessity of balancing tradition with mercy. Their dialogue touched on vulnerability, doubt, and hope, revealing unexpected common ground. In the days that followed, the summit culminated in a public debate between Elon and Cardinal Vieri, moderated by a renowned journalist. Broadcast live worldwide, the event drew millions of viewers, eager to witness this historic confrontation. Elon's opening remarks challenged the Church to reconsider its stance on same-sex marriage, framing love as a universal human right and emphasizing the importance of inclusion for societal progress. Cardinal Vieri responded with conviction, articulating the theological and moral foundations of the Church's position, stressing the sacred nature of marriage and the spiritual implications of redefining it. The exchange was intense yet measured, each side presenting reasoned arguments while acknowledging the complexity of the issue. Midway through the debate, Elon shared a heartfelt story about a close friend who had been rejected by their family and faith community because of their sexuality. The emotional impact resonated deeply with the audience, shifting the tone from abstract argument to human reality. Pope Leo XIV, watching from the sidelines, later remarked on the power of personal testimony to illuminate difficult truths. As the debate progressed, moments of tension alternated with glimpses of understanding. Elon's calls for empathy and progress met Cardinal Vieri's appeals to spiritual continuity and sacred tradition. The audience witnessed a rare dialogue that transcended mere conflict, inviting reflection on how ancient beliefs could engage with contemporary human experiences. Yet, external forces threatened to disrupt this fragile balance. Intelligence reports warned of extremist groups planning protests and attempts to sabotage the event. Security was heightened, and precautionary measures implemented. On the day of the final session, the summit was briefly locked down after a suspicious package was found nearby. The incident underscored the volatility surrounding the debate and the stakes involved. In response, Elon and Pope Leo XIV jointly addressed the assembly, condemning violence and urging peaceful dialogue. Their joint statement was a powerful symbol of unity amid division, emphasizing respect, love, and the need to seek common ground. The climactic journey of this summit marked a turning point in the ongoing story. It revealed the possibilities and limitations of dialogue between technology-driven progress and deeply rooted faith traditions. It showcased the humanity behind public personas, the struggles to reconcile belief and identity, and the courage required to confront entrenched conflicts. Following the summit, both Elon and the Pope returned to their respective worlds, changed in subtle but profound ways. Elon's experiences in Rome tempered his activist zeal with a new appreciation for the complexities of faith and tradition. Pope Leo XIV emerged with a renewed commitment to pastoral care and an openness to exploring new paths within doctrine. Their journeys underscored that transformation is a process, often slow, fraught with setbacks, but fueled by hope and empathy. The summit also catalyzed broader conversations across societies worldwide. Media coverage sparked discussions in homes, workplaces, and faith communities. Advocates for LGBTQ+ rights gained momentum, while traditionalists reaffirmed their convictions. The dialogue spilled into classrooms, religious institutions, and political arenas, reflecting the ongoing negotiation between past and future. At its core, the climactic journey illustrated that the intersection of faith and progress need not be a battleground but could become a space for mutual understanding. It challenged assumptions on both sides and invited reconsideration of what it means to love, to belong, and to evolve as human beings. The story of Elon Musk and Pope Leo XIV is a testament to the power of courageous dialogue amid deep division. It reminds us that even when worlds collide, there is potential for connection, growth, and hope. Their journey continues, a beacon for all who seek to bridge divides and embrace the fullness of human dignity. The emotional climax unfolded as the world watched the unprecedented moment when Elon Musk and Pope Leo XIV jointly addressed the global community from the heart of the Vatican. This event was not just a meeting of two influential figures but the culmination of months of tension, hope, and intense dialogue. The weight of history pressed down on them both as they stepped onto the stage of St. Peter's Basilica, the place where centuries of faith and tradition converged with the restless currents of modern change. The sun dipped low behind the basilica's grand dome, casting long shadows that seemed to symbolize the crossroads at which humanity stood. Elon's voice was steady but charged with emotion as he spoke first, recounting the stories of countless individuals whose lives had been shaped by love, rejection, courage, and hope. He spoke of friends and strangers alike who had found themselves alienated not only by society but often by the very institutions meant to offer sanctuary. Love, Elon said, is not a problem to be solved but a force to be celebrated. To deny love is to deny the very essence of what makes us human. His words rippled through the crowd and across countless screens worldwide, touching hearts and igniting fierce debate. Pope Leo XIV followed, his gaze solemn yet compassionate. His voice carried the gravity of centuries of teaching but also a surprising tenderness. The Church, he declared, is called to be a home for all, a refuge for the broken and the whole. We must listen to the voices of our people, especially those who have suffered in silence. This admission, subtle yet profound, marked a departure from the Church's historically rigid stance. It acknowledged the pain felt by LGBTQ+ Catholics and the need for mercy without compromising faith. The Pope's address was a beacon of hope for many, signaling a willingness to engage with difficult questions rather than retreat behind dogma. As the speeches ended, the atmosphere shifted palpably. For a moment, opposing forces seemed to soften, united by the shared recognition of human dignity and the complexity of love. But the emotional climax was far from a simple resolution. The next moments brought raw vulnerability and revelation. Elon stepped forward again, revealing a deeply personal truth that few had known, his own experiences of isolation and struggle with acceptance as a visionary challenging norms. He spoke candidly about the loneliness that often accompanied being misunderstood, drawing a parallel with those marginalized for their identity. Innovation and faith, he said, both demand courage, the courage to face the unknown and the courage to embrace each other's humanity. His vulnerability resonated deeply, bridging the gap between technology and spirituality, public and private. The Pope responded with equal openness, recounting moments of doubt and reflection in his own journey. He spoke of the weight of responsibility and the challenge of guiding a diverse, global church through a rapidly changing world. Faith is not static, he reflected. It must live and breathe with the people, adapting without losing its soul. This admission was met with a mixture of applause and thoughtful silence, underscoring the tension between tradition and transformation. The emotional climax was further intensified when a group of LGBTQ+ Catholics invited by the Vatican shared their stories live from the audience. Their testimonies, of pain, hope, and unwavering faith, pierced through theological abstractions, grounding the debate in lived reality. Tears flowed as voices trembled with emotion, revealing the human faces behind policy discussions. This moment crystallized the stakes of the conflict and the profound need for compassion. However, the climax was not without its darker shadows. The event was marred by protests outside the basilica, where extremist groups shouted slogans and clashed with police. Reports of online harassment and threats surged, reflecting the deep divisions still entrenched in society. Inside, security measures were tightened, and the threat of violence loomed. Yet the leader's message of peace and dialogue held firm, even as tensions threatened to explode. In a dramatic turn, a power outage plunged the basilica into darkness for several minutes during the event. The symbolic moment stunned the audience and was interpreted by many as a metaphor for the struggle between light and shadow, hope and fear. When the lights returned, Elon and the Pope stood together, their silhouettes united against the backdrop of stained glass windows illuminated by candlelight. This visual moment became an enduring image, one of solidarity amid uncertainty. The emotional climax reached its peak as Elon and Pope Leo XIV announced a groundbreaking initiative, the establishment of a joint commission to explore pathways toward greater inclusion within the Church, focusing on pastoral care, theological study, and social outreach. This initiative was met with both praise and criticism. Progressive voices hailed it as historic and courageous, while conservatives warned of dangerous concessions. Yet, the announcement signaled a willingness to move beyond rhetoric toward concrete action. In the days following, the world grappled with the reverberations of this moment. News outlets debated its implications, religious communities held prayers and discussions, and social media buzzed with passionate opinions. The emotional climax had opened a new chapter, filled with possibility but fraught with challenges. Elon and the Pope, though exhausted by the intensity, felt a renewed sense of purpose. Their collaboration, born from conflict and shaped by dialogue, embodied the complex dance between tradition and change, faith and reason, love and doctrine. The emotional climax of their journey taught the world that transformation is painful but possible, that courage can bridge divides, and that love, in all its diversity, is a force too powerful to be denied. As the story continued to unfold, audiences everywhere were invited to reflect on their own beliefs, biases, and hopes. How do we hold space for difference without losing connection? How do we honor our histories while embracing new understandings? The emotional climax did not provide all the answers but ignited a vital conversation that continues to shape our shared future. In the end, it reminded us that beneath headlines and debates are human hearts yearning for acceptance and peace, waiting for the courage to say, "We belong together." What do you think? How would you respond if faced with the challenge to reconcile deeply held beliefs with the evolving realities of love? Share your thoughts and be part of the dialogue that this story has inspired. The resolution and reflection unfolded in the months after the historic joint announcement by Elon Musk and Pope Leo XIV, as the world grappled with the profound implications of their dialogue on same-sex marriage and faith. The joint commission they established began its work, composed of theologians, LGBTQ+ advocates, clergy, and experts from diverse fields, tasked with exploring how the Church could embody both its sacred traditions and the evolving understandings of human love and dignity. Elon returned to Silicon Valley, carrying with him not only the weight of global scrutiny but a deepened sense of responsibility that transcended technology and innovation. The journey had transformed him in ways few anticipated. He began advocating not just for social change but for a fusion of empathy and ethics in technological progress, understanding that human hearts, not algorithms, are at the core of true advancement. Meanwhile, Pope Leo XIV found himself navigating a delicate balance between the conservative factions resistant to change and the growing calls for reform within the Church's global community. His leadership was marked by moments of profound solitude, prayer, and contemplation, as he sought a path that would uphold the Church's spiritual mission while responding to the cries for inclusion and compassion. The months that followed were not without setbacks. The Commission's discussions revealed deep divides, between those who feared that any shift would dilute doctrine and those who saw the necessity of evolution in pastoral care. Heated debates ensued, media outlets amplified conflicts, and social media remained a polarized arena. Yet, amid these challenges, the Commission made incremental progress. They issued pastoral guidelines emphasizing respect, love, and dignity for LGBTQ+ individuals within the Church community, urging clergy to prioritize compassion over condemnation. This approach began to change the tone within many parishes, fostering spaces of healing and dialogue where before there had been silence and exclusion. Elon's advocacy extended beyond the Church. He engaged with policymakers, educators, and leaders worldwide, promoting inclusive policies and raising awareness about the intersection of faith, identity, and human rights. His public speeches increasingly highlighted the lessons learned in Rome, the necessity of humility, listening, and the courage to face complex truths. Through interviews and social media, Elon inspired many who felt marginalized, encouraging them to embrace their identities while nurturing their dreams. Pope Leo XIV's personal reflections became known through a series of writings and speeches that revealed his evolving theology, one that embraced mercy as the highest virtue and recognized the multiplicity of love's expressions. He articulated a vision of the Church as a living body, capable of growth and renewal without losing its essence. His message resonated deeply with many Catholics who had long felt torn between faith and identity. The Pope also made pastoral visits to communities affected by exclusion, meeting LGBTQ+ Catholics and their families, listening to their stories with empathy and respect. These encounters humanized the abstract debates and fueled his commitment to inclusive ministry. One particularly poignant visit was to a small parish in the American Midwest, where a young woman named Rachel shared her story of coming out to her family and church. Her courage and pain moved the Pope profoundly, illustrating the real lives behind theological discourse. Rachel's story was later featured in a Vatican publication, symbolizing a new openness. The resolution phase also brought personal growth for Elon and Pope Leo XIV. Elon grappled with reconciling his scientific rationalism with the mysteries of faith, learning to appreciate spirituality as a vital aspect of human experience. The Pope, in turn, engaged more deeply with contemporary scientific thought and technological innovation, recognizing that faith and reason need not be adversaries but partners in humanity's journey. Their unlikely friendship, nurtured through months of dialogue, became a testament to the power of respect and openness. They exchanged letters and met privately, sharing insights and encouraging one another in their leadership roles. Their collaboration inspired a broader movement of interfaith and secular dialogues aimed at bridging divides across social and ideological lines. Public reaction to the gradual shifts within the Church and Elon's ongoing advocacy was mixed but evolving. Many LGBTQ+ Catholics and allies celebrated the progress as a long overdue acknowledgement of their dignity. Families who had experienced pain and division began to heal. However, conservative groups remained vocal in their opposition, warning of spiritual confusion and division. The tension between tradition and change persisted, reflecting the ongoing challenge of balancing continuity with adaptation. The story's resolution did not bring a dramatic overturning of doctrine but a more nuanced and compassionate approach, signaling that transformation is often incremental and requires patience. The journey illustrated that institutions as ancient and vast as the Catholic Church could engage with contemporary issues through dialogue and empathy, without losing their core identity. Elon Musk's role as a catalyst for this conversation underscored the interconnectedness of culture, technology, and faith in shaping society's values. As the dust settled, the story's message crystallized into a profound life lesson: love, in its myriad forms, remains the guiding force through life's complexities. The courage to confront painful truths, the humility to listen, and the willingness to embrace change with compassion can lead to healing and growth. The narrative invited audiences to reflect on their own journeys, how they navigate conflicts between belief and identity, tradition and progress, fear and hope. It challenged readers to consider their roles in fostering communities that honor diversity while nurturing shared humanity. In closing, the story posed a final question that lingered like a call to action: in a world fraught with division, how can we choose love as the path forward? Elon Musk versus the Church. A debate on same-sex marriage. Pope Leo XIV responds ends not with definitive answers but with an invitation to engage, to empathize, and to envision a future where understanding transcends conflict. The legacy of this story is a testament to the power of dialogue and the enduring human quest for belonging and dignity. What's your story? How do you see love shaping the future of faith and society? Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? As the months passed following the initial historic summit and joint announcement, both Elon Musk and Pope Leo XIV found themselves navigating the ripple effects of their groundbreaking dialogue, each facing new challenges in their personal and public lives that tested their convictions and deepened their understanding of the complex interplay between faith, love, and societal change. For Elon, the aftermath was a whirlwind of public scrutiny, support, and backlash. His social media accounts were flooded daily with messages, from heartfelt thanks by those who found hope in his advocacy to bitter criticism by those who saw his actions as an affront to tradition or an overreach of celebrity influence in religious matters. Elon's once private reflections became public discourse, and he found himself at the center of a cultural storm that extended far beyond the initial debate on same-sex marriage. Yet, amidst the noise, Elon drew strength from the personal relationships he'd forged over the years and the new ones formed through this process. His close-knit team reminded him of the importance of staying grounded and authentic. Early mornings spent with close friends who shared his vision of a more inclusive future recharged his spirit. He often revisited the words of those LGBTQ+ Catholics he'd met in Rome. Their stories of courage and resilience reminding him that progress was not just abstract but deeply human. In the tech world, Elon continued to innovate, but his public statements increasingly incorporated themes of empathy, unity, and respect for diversity. He launched initiatives aimed at bridging technological advancement with social justice, emphasizing that the future he envisioned was one where no one would be left behind due to their identity or beliefs. Meanwhile, Pope Leo XIV faced equally intense pressures within the Vatican and the broader Catholic community. Conservative bishops and cardinals who saw the Commission's pastoral guidelines as too lenient mobilized their influence, calling for reaffirmations of traditional doctrine and cautioning against what they termed modernist tendencies that could fracture the Church's unity. At the same time, many lay Catholics, especially younger generations, embraced the Pope's message of mercy and inclusion, seeing in him a leader willing to wrestle with the Church's most difficult questions. The Pope's days were filled with meetings, letters from believers worldwide, and moments of solitude spent in prayer and reflection. The burden of guiding a global faith community through such turbulent waters weighed heavily on him, yet his conviction grew that love and compassion must remain at the Church's core. To connect more deeply with his flock, Pope Leo XIV undertook a series of pastoral visits to diverse communities around the world, from bustling urban parishes in New York to rural villages in South America, listening carefully to their stories, hopes, and fears. These experiences shaped his emerging theology of accompaniment, emphasizing walking alongside those struggling with faith and identity rather than casting judgment. One particularly transformative visit was to a community center in San Francisco, where LGBTQ+ Catholics gathered for support and worship. Meeting individuals who had faced rejection from family and church but continued to seek spiritual connection profoundly moved the Pope. He shared meals, listened to their experiences, and offered prayers of blessing. This visit became symbolic of his broader commitment to inclusion, and news of it spread quickly, sparking conversations within and beyond the Church. The evolving relationship between Elon and Pope Leo XIV remained a source of inspiration and occasional tension. They continued to correspond through letters and private meetings, sharing insights from their respective worlds. Elon sometimes challenged the Pope to consider more radical reforms, while the Pope reminded Elon of the need for patience and respect for spiritual traditions. Their dialogue was a delicate dance, one of mutual respect, intellectual rigor, and shared humanity. During one such meeting in Rome, Elon confided in the Pope about his own struggles with the expectations placed upon him as a visionary and leader. He spoke candidly about loneliness, the burden of public scrutiny, and the desire to make a lasting positive impact. The Pope responded with gentle encouragement, reflecting on the spiritual journey of bearing one's cross and finding strength in faith. This conversation underscored their growing understanding that beneath their public roles were two men grappling with universal human challenges. As the world watched, the debate on same-sex marriage within religious contexts evolved beyond polarized headlines. Other faith communities began similar conversations, inspired by the courage and openness demonstrated by Elon and Pope Leo XIV. Interfaith dialogues blossomed, exploring how different traditions might approach questions of love, identity, and inclusion. These efforts created spaces where believers and skeptics alike could share experiences and build bridges of understanding. However, not all reactions were positive. Extremist groups continued to oppose change vehemently, staging protests and sometimes resorting to violence. The rise of online misinformation and hate speech further complicated efforts to foster respectful discourse. Elon and the Pope both publicly condemned such acts, emphasizing that true faith and progress require peace and respect. In the midst of these tensions, personal stories of transformation continued to emerge. Rachel, the young woman from the American Midwest whose story had touched the Pope, became an outspoken advocate for LGBTQ+ Catholics. She founded a support network that connected faith communities across denominations, offering resources and counseling to those seeking reconciliation between identity and belief. Rachel's journey inspired many others to come forward, slowly changing hearts and minds at the grassroots level. Meanwhile, Elon's tech companies launched several new projects aimed at accessibility and education for marginalized groups, leveraging artificial intelligence and digital platforms to create inclusive spaces for learning and connection. These initiatives reflected his evolving philosophy that technology must serve the human spirit, not just economic interests. The story's arc highlighted the ongoing tension between holding on to cherished traditions and embracing the necessary evolution of societal values. Elon and Pope Leo XIV's partnership demonstrated that dialogue, even when fraught with disagreement, could pave the way toward understanding and progress. Their example showed that leadership requires vulnerability, courage, and the willingness to listen deeply. Reflecting on the entire journey, both men recognized that the debate on same-sex marriage was emblematic of larger questions about humanity's capacity for love, acceptance, and transformation. They acknowledged that no single event or statement could resolve such complex issues but that each step toward openness mattered profoundly. The legacy of their dialogue was a living, evolving testament to the power of compassion and respect in bridging divides. As audiences around the world engaged with this story, many found themselves inspired to examine their own beliefs and relationships. The narrative invited individuals to consider how they might foster empathy within their families, communities, and institutions. It challenged society to envision a future where faith and identity coexist without fear or exclusion. The story closed with a renewed call for unity amid diversity, emphasizing that love remains the ultimate force capable of healing wounds and building bridges. What pushes you forward when faced with deep division? How can empathy and courage shape the conversations that matter most? Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. Elon Musk and Pope Leo XIV's dialogue had sparked waves far beyond their initial debate, rippling through social, religious, and political spheres worldwide. As their collaboration deepened, they both faced intensifying challenges that tested their convictions and reshaped their understanding of leadership, faith, and human connection. Elon's influence had grown not only as a technological innovator but as a social advocate bridging gaps between science, faith, and identity. Despite ongoing criticism, he remained steadfast, driven by a vision where innovation and empathy intertwined. His public appearances increasingly focused on promoting inclusive values, emphasizing that progress must honor the dignity of every individual. The global community responded with mixed emotions. Younger generations, raised amid greater acceptance of diversity, saw Elon's stance as a beacon of hope. Many religious and secular leaders joined conversations inspired by his example, while traditionalists voiced concerns about preserving long-standing doctrines. The tension reflected a broader cultural crossroads, where change collided with tradition. Pope Leo XIV's journey was no less complex. Leading a global church with over 1 billion members required delicate balance. He faced internal pressures from conservative clergy resistant to change and progressive believers urging reform. The Pope's personal evolution became a testament to the power of dialogue and humility. Embracing a pastoral approach grounded in mercy, he championed a vision of faith as inclusive and life-affirming. His writings and speeches articulated a theology of accompaniment, walking with individuals through doubt, pain, and identity struggles without judgment. This approach resonated with many and sparked new pastoral initiatives worldwide. A defining moment came when Pope Leo XIV convened a global synod focusing on family, love, and sexuality. The synod brought together bishops, theologians, and laypeople representing diverse perspectives. Debates were vigorous, reflecting deep-seated convictions and fears. Yet, the spirit of the dialogue had shifted since the Elon Pope Summit. There was a growing openness to acknowledging the lived realities of LGBTQ+ Catholics and exploring ways to welcome them without compromising core teachings. The synod produced a landmark document emphasizing compassion, pastoral sensitivity, and the call to respect human dignity. This was not a doctrinal overhaul but a significant step toward reconciling faith with the complexity of human love. Meanwhile, Elon leveraged his platform to promote educational programs addressing mental health and inclusivity, particularly for youth navigating identity and belonging. He partnered with nonprofits and tech companies to create supportive online communities that combined cutting-edge technology with compassionate human connection. These initiatives aimed to reduce isolation and empower individuals to embrace their authentic selves. The partnership between Elon and the Vatican evolved into a unique model of dialogue between secular innovation and spiritual tradition. Their exchanges inspired similar collaborations across the world, bridging gaps between science and religion, progress and heritage. Together, they embodied a hopeful vision where differences were not barriers but opportunities for growth. However, challenges persisted. Conservative factions within the church and society mobilized resistance, fearing erosion of moral clarity. Online misinformation campaigns and cultural polarization complicated efforts to foster respectful discourse. Both leaders faced personal attacks and threats, underscoring the high stakes of their work. Yet, their commitment endured, rooted in shared conviction that love and respect must guide humanity's path. On a personal level, Elon's relationship with his family and close friends deepened. His willingness to speak openly about vulnerability and empathy fostered new bonds and healed old wounds. He found solace in quiet moments away from the public eye, long walks, reflective reading, and time spent with loved ones. The experience reminded him that leadership is also about humility and connection. Pope Leo XIV's pastoral visits to communities worldwide continued to shape his vision. He witnessed firsthand the power of presence, simply being with people in their joys and struggles. These encounters renewed his faith and strengthened his resolve to guide the Church toward a future that honors both tradition and transformation. One poignant story emerged from a small parish in Ireland where the Pope met a family torn apart by rejection of a gay son. Through dialogue and prayer, the family found reconciliation, illustrating the healing potential of mercy. As the story unfolded globally, it became clear that the debate on same-sex marriage was emblematic of broader societal questions about identity, belonging, and the meaning of love. Elon and Pope Leo XIV's journey offered a roadmap for navigating these complexities, not by erasing differences but by embracing them with courage and compassion. Their legacy inspired individuals and institutions to engage in difficult conversations with openness and respect, fostering communities where all could thrive. As the story reached this phase, audiences everywhere were invited to reflect: how do we balance respect for tradition with the need for inclusion? What does it mean to love without conditions? How can technology and faith collaborate to uplift humanity? The narrative closed with a powerful call to action, inviting everyone to participate in building a world where love transcends fear and division. What keeps you hopeful in challenging times? Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. The dialogue between Elon Musk and Pope Leo XIV continued to reverberate across the world, shaping conversations not only about same-sex marriage but about the very nature of belief, identity, and progress. As their public partnership grew, both men encountered new challenges that tested their convictions and forced them to reconsider their roles as leaders in a changing world. Elon, already accustomed to pushing the boundaries of technology and industry, now found himself navigating a far more personal and complex terrain. His advocacy for LGBTQ+ inclusion within faith communities sparked heated debates, sometimes hostile backlash, but also sparked hope among millions who felt marginalized. The pressure was immense, but Elon remained committed, drawing strength from the stories of those he had met, the young people struggling to reconcile faith and identity, families seeking healing, and communities yearning for acceptance. He recognized that his influence extended beyond rockets and electric cars. It was a call to foster empathy and courage in a world too often divided by fear. Meanwhile, Pope Leo XIV's journey was marked by profound introspection and spiritual growth. Leading the Catholic Church through this cultural crossroads required a delicate balance between honoring centuries-old traditions and responding to the evolving realities of the faithful. The Pope embraced a pastoral approach centered on accompaniment, walking with people through their doubts, struggles, and hopes without condemnation. His messages stressed that God's love is unconditional, a radical call to embrace those often pushed to the margins. Yet within the Vatican, opposition remained fierce. Conservative leaders decried what they saw as dangerous compromises, warning that the Church risked losing its identity. These tensions underscored the deep divisions not only in doctrine but in understanding the role of faith in the modern world. The Pope's leadership was tested daily, requiring wisdom, patience, and courage. The ongoing Global Synod on Family and Human Love became a pivotal arena for these debates. Delegates from around the world shared stories and perspectives that highlighted both the challenges and possibilities of living faithfully amid societal change. The Synod's final document reflected a nuanced position. It reaffirmed traditional teachings on marriage while calling for greater pastoral sensitivity, respect, and inclusion of LGBTQ+ persons. It emphasized that the Church must be a home for all, a refuge rather than a place of judgment. This marked a subtle but significant shift in tone, one that inspired hope and controversy alike. Elon's role extended beyond advocacy. He began to invest in projects that use technology to create supportive spaces for marginalized communities. He launched initiatives combining artificial intelligence with counseling services, designed to provide accessible mental health resources for LGBTQ+ youth. These platforms emphasized community, resilience, and empowerment, harnessing innovation to meet deeply human needs. The partnership between Elon and the Vatican also inspired similar dialogues across religious traditions and secular institutions. Their example demonstrated that faith and science need not be adversaries but allies in the pursuit of human dignity and understanding. Interfaith conferences, academic forums, and grassroots movements emerged, fostering conversations that transcended cultural and ideological divides. However, this path was not without setbacks. Online harassment campaigns, misinformation, and political polarization threatened to derail progress. Both Elon and Pope Leo XIV faced personal attacks and threats, underscoring the high stakes involved in challenging entrenched beliefs and social norms. Yet their resilience modeled the power of steadfastness grounded in compassion. Personally, Elon's relationships deepened as he embraced vulnerability. He shared candid reflections on the loneliness of leadership and the need for connection beyond public personas. Quiet moments with family and close friends provided refuge and renewal, reminding him that change begins with human bonds. Pope Leo XIV's pastoral visits to diverse communities further enriched his vision. In small towns and big cities, he witnessed the transformative power of presence, listening, praying, and standing with people in their joys and sorrows. These encounters reaffirmed his belief that the Church's mission is one of mercy and accompaniment, not exclusion. One moving story came from a rural parish in Latin America, where a family reunited after years of estrangement due to their son's sexual orientation. The Pope's encouragement helped open pathways for forgiveness and healing, illustrating the profound impact of compassion. As the broader conversation unfolded, it became clear that the debate over same-sex marriage was part of a larger struggle to reconcile identity, faith, and community in a rapidly changing world. Elon and Pope Leo XIV's journey provided a roadmap, showing that dialogue, empathy, and courage can bridge even the widest divides. Their legacy inspired individuals and institutions to engage in honest, respectful conversations, fostering environments where everyone's dignity is honored. The story invited audiences everywhere to reflect on their own experiences of conflict and acceptance. How do we balance respect for tradition with the imperative of inclusion? What does unconditional love look like in our lives? How can faith and technology work together to uplift humanity? The narrative concluded with a call to action, to choose empathy over fear, dialogue over division, and love as the guiding force in our communities. What drives you forward when faced with uncertainty? The 9th chapter in the unfolding journey of Elon Musk and Pope Leo XIV brought the world into a new season of reckoning, not one driven by headline events or dramatic announcements, but through the quiet, persistent force of transformation happening in small towns, private conversations, and unlikely friendships. By now, the world had absorbed the initial shock of the Vatican's more compassionate stance and Elon's sustained advocacy for LGBTQ+ rights within faith-based contexts. But what came next, beyond declarations and synods, was the true test of endurance. Elon had returned to Austin to focus more directly on a new initiative called Human Plus, a project that fused AI with emotional support systems. Its purpose was simple but radical: to offer empathy at scale. The software had a core mission: to listen, especially to those who felt unseen, unheard, or judged. Built with advanced language models, Human Plus was developed with the help of psychologists, theologians, and even former priests who had left the church in protest of exclusion. The tool was rolled out to crisis centers, schools, and pastoral care ministries. In beta testing, it helped a transgender teenager in Ohio find the courage to come out to her mother. It guided a young gay man in the Philippines to reconnect with his Catholic faith after years of shame. For Elon, this project was different than rockets or cars. It wasn't about efficiency or disruption, it was about healing. He started doing something unusual for him, speaking quietly, privately, without cameras, in homes and community centers, with people who had nothing to offer him in return but their stories. He began attending interfaith gatherings, not as a speaker, but as a listener. In one event held in a modest synagogue in New Jersey, he sat beside an elderly lesbian rabbi who had been fighting for religious acceptance since the 1980s. They talked long after the lights dimmed, discussing God, artificial intelligence, grief, and joy. Elon later told his team, "This isn't about reform. It's about repair." Meanwhile, in Vatican City, Pope Leo XIV had grown more contemplative. He had lost weight, his walks through the apostolic palace had become slower, and his hands often trembled slightly as he read letters from parishioners across the globe. One letter in particular came from a Catholic schoolteacher in Uganda who had been dismissed for defending gay students. The Pope read it 3 times before placing it on his desk and staring at the crucifix above. That night, he wrote in his personal journal, "The Church cannot afford to pretend we are immune to pain we have helped create." The Pope began working with a discreet team of advisors on what would later be referred to as the Letter of Conscience, a rare, personal letter to the global Catholic community. It wasn't a doctrinal change, but it would represent something just as significant, a papal admission that the Church had caused harm, and a roadmap toward repentance. The letter would later quote the Gospel of John, "Let he who is without sin cast the first stone," and speak directly to LGBTQ+ Catholics, saying, "Your dignity is not in dispute. Your belonging is not conditional. And your Creator does not make mistakes." Before it could be released, the Pope invited Elon to the Vatican again, not for a press moment, but for private consultation. The Pope had come to view Elon not just as a secular influencer but as a mirror to the Church, someone outside its walls who challenged it to live up to its mission. They met in the Pope's private study, without translators, bodyguards, or aides. Elon was struck by the Pope's vulnerability. He spoke softly, not like a man trying to persuade, but like someone seeking truth. "Do you ever feel," the Pope asked, "that you're building something you'll never live to see?" Elon paused before answering. "Every day. But that's not a reason to stop. That's the reason to keep going." The Pope nodded. "That's faith," he said. After the meeting, Elon flew back to Texas in silence, looking out over the Atlantic, the Pope's words echoing louder than the jet engines. Within 2 weeks, the Letter of Conscience was released. It shook the Catholic world. Some bishops broke into tears. Others denounced it as dangerous sentimentality. Catholic media outlets exploded with headlines, "Pope opens doors, not doctrine, love without labels." Is the Church caving or healing? But what mattered more than the headlines were the reactions in the pews. In São Paulo, a priest read the letter aloud during Mass, and a young man who had stopped attending church 5 years earlier walked back through the doors the next Sunday. In Detroit, a grandmother who had disowned her gay grandson called him and said, "I read something. Can we talk?" In Manila, a school where a lesbian teacher had been fired issued a public apology and reinstated her. Elon watched all of this with cautious hope. He knew backlash would come. Indeed, powerful Catholic factions called for formal resistance. Protests formed outside churches in parts of Europe and Latin America. But something had shifted. There was no going back. Meanwhile, the Human Plus project saw explosive growth. Counselors in conservative communities began using it, quietly at first, then more openly. Its anonymity allowed conversations to happen that people were too afraid to have with each other. It became a confessional of sorts, not to absolve sin, but to acknowledge pain. Musk made the software open source, refusing to monetize the core platform. "Some things," he said in a live stream, "shouldn't be owned." The Pope continued his travels, often under heavy criticism, yet unwavering. In Argentina, he visited his old seminary and gave a speech titled, "Walls Do Not Make Churches." He ended it with a moment of silence for those turned away by the very communities meant to shelter them. The crowd was quiet for a full minute, and in that stillness, something sacred passed between them. Across the globe, ordinary people, teachers, doctors, clergy, parents, began having new conversations. Some cried. Some argued. Many prayed. But most importantly, they stayed at the table. One afternoon in a Catholic school in Chicago, a 14-year-old girl raised her hand and asked her religion teacher, "If God is love, how can any love be wrong?" The teacher paused, unsure of how to respond, and finally said, "That's the question we're all asking now. Maybe we'll find the answer together." The story wasn't finished. It wouldn't be, not for years, maybe not even for generations. But what Elon Musk and Pope Leo XIV had done, whether they planned it or not, was to light a fire that couldn't be extinguished. Not by doctrine. Not by dogma. Not even by time. It was a fire of reckoning, and of redemption. And it began, as all revolutions do, not with certainty, but with a question: what if love really is enough? Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? For months following the release of the Letter of Conscience, Pope Leo XIV and Elon Musk watched as their actions sparked transformations far more subtle but deeply impactful than any press release or conference ever could. The noise of outrage that initially dominated headlines began to fade, replaced by a quiet shift in the culture of conversation. People weren't screaming at each other anymore, they were, for the first time in a long time, asking hard questions and listening to harder answers. In churches and synagogues, online forums, and living rooms, the question at the heart of it all whispered like a prayer between lines of scripture and beneath layers of identity: can love really change the world, or just complicate it? In Los Angeles, a megachurch pastor who had once preached fire and brimstone sermons against homosexuality found himself walking past a young couple after service, two men holding hands, heads bowed, praying quietly in a side pew. He paused, conflicted, before sitting on the pew behind them. When they looked up in surprise, he simply said, "I don't know what the right words are. But I'm here. And I'm trying." It was an awkward, unfinished moment. But that small crack in the wall let light in. Elon, in the meantime, had become something he never thought he'd be, a symbol of spiritual disruption. He hadn't set out to take on the church or faith traditions. But somewhere between the interviews, the backlash, the commission hearings, and the letters from kids who said they felt less alone, he realized this conversation had chosen him. There were days he regretted it, when headlines twisted his words, or religious leaders labeled him as anti-God. But on other days, like when he visited a center for queer youth in Atlanta and was handed a hand-drawn thank you card that said simply, "You helped my mom see me," he understood the price was worth it. Despite their vastly different worlds, Elon and Pope Leo XIV had formed an unlikely friendship, not one of policy coordination or mutual agreement, but of letters, brief calls, and shared understanding of the loneliness that comes with leadership. Once, during a call that lasted over an hour, the Pope told Elon about a moment from his youth, how, in seminary, he had struggled with anger toward a family member who had disowned a cousin for coming out. "We talk so much about love in the church," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, "but we rarely teach how to live it when it hurts." Elon didn't respond right away. Then he said, "That's not just a church problem. That's a human one." The Pope began preparations for a global assembly, an ambitious follow-up to the synod, this time inviting not just clergy and theologians, but sociologists, educators, artists, scientists, and even people of no faith. He wanted to hold a gathering that reflected the reality of the world, not just its religious institutions. It was called Amoris Terra, Love of the Earth, and it was set to be the most inclusive forum the Vatican had ever hosted. When asked if Elon would attend, the Pope replied, "He belongs at the table. We all do." The announcement drew immediate backlash from traditionalists. Some high-ranking bishops issued letters of opposition, warning that opening the doors too widely would let confusion flood in. One even compared the initiative to the Tower of Babel, arguing it blurred God's order. But in cities like Manila, Accra, Toronto, and Buenos Aires, young Catholics rejoiced. They began planning pilgrimages to Rome not just to celebrate their faith, but to see if the church was ready to celebrate them too. Elon initially hesitated to attend. He didn't want the forum to become a media circus, and he worried that his presence might overshadow the event's deeper message. But after a long discussion with his son, who asked him, "Dad, do you ever regret being different?" Elon decided that showing up was part of the answer. "You don't build bridges from a distance," he said later, "you build them by walking across." Amoris Terra began in early May. The weather in Rome was warm, the air thick with incense, expectation, and a sense of history being rewritten. The opening session was held not inside the Vatican, but outdoors, in St. Peter's Square, under an open sky. The Pope's message was simple, delivered without grandeur: "We have gathered not to debate each other's identities, but to discover the identity of love itself." The forum stretched over a week, with sessions ranging from theological roundtables to emotional storytelling workshops. Elon participated in a panel titled Innovation and Integrity, the Moral Compass of the Future, seated alongside a Jesuit priest, a Buddhist monk, a data ethicist, and a queer Nigerian filmmaker. The conversation veered from AI ethics to personal sacrifice to how technology can amplify compassion rather than divide people. When asked what he hoped technology could never replace, Elon answered without pause, the ability to truly see someone. Not their data, not their demographics, but their soul. The crowd went silent for a moment, and the priest beside him placed a hand gently on Elon's shoulder. "You've just described confession," he said. One evening, under soft light strung between olive trees in the Vatican gardens, an informal gathering was held. There was music, folk songs, chants, violin solos, and no speeches. Elon sat beside the Pope on a worn wooden bench, sipping herbal tea and watching a group of young people from different countries laugh as they tried to teach each other dance steps. "Do you think this changes anything?" Elon asked. "Yes," the Pope said quietly. "Because now they'll remember what it felt like to be welcome." The next day, a group of LGBTQ+ Catholics from countries where homosexuality was criminalized presented a manifesto titled Faith Without Fear. They read it aloud in 15 languages, ending with a collective statement: "We are not asking the Church to become what it is not. We are asking it to remember who it has always been, a refuge." The Pope rose from his chair, walked to the group, and embraced the lead speaker, a transgender woman named Lucia from Poland, without saying a word. The moment was broadcast live. In some countries, it was censored. In others, it went viral. But everywhere, it made people feel something, either outrage or hope. That night, Elon walked alone through the Vatican gardens. He paused near a statue of Saint Francis and looked up at the stars. So many of his life's efforts had been about reaching them, about conquering gravity, stretching the limits of the possible. But now, for the first time, he wondered if the real revolution wasn't out there, but right here on Earth, in hearts willing to change. As Amoris Terra concluded, the Vatican released a joint statement titled The Path Forward, co-authored by representatives from various backgrounds, including Elon. It was not a doctrinal decree, but a cultural invitation, a declaration that compassion would now be at the center of the Church's engagement with the world. It called for listening, for learning, and most radically of all, for love that asks nothing in return. And so the world shifted, not in fireworks, not in laws or proclamations, but in the quiet courage of people willing to choose relationship over rejection. Pope Leo XIV and Elon Musk had not solved the centuries-old tension between tradition and progress. But they had done something perhaps even more important: they had turned toward each other, and invited the world to do the same. The summer of 2025 brought with it a renewed sense of urgency. The world had watched as Pope Leo XIV and Elon Musk navigated the delicate terrain between tradition and transformation. Yet, as the months passed, it became evident that the journey was far from over. The initial steps toward reconciliation had been taken, but the path ahead was fraught with complexities that neither technology nor theology could easily resolve. In the quiet corridors of the Vatican, Pope Leo XIV pondered the weight of his decisions. The letter of conscience had been a bold move, signaling a shift in the Church's approach to LGBTQ+ issues. However, the absence of doctrinal change left many feeling that the Church had merely scratched the surface. The Pope knew that true healing required more than symbolic gestures; it demanded a deep, introspective examination of the Church's teachings and practices. Meanwhile, Elon Musk found himself at a crossroads. His ventures into AI and space exploration had always been driven by a desire to push boundaries and challenge the status quo. Yet, in the realm of faith and human connection, he realized that progress was not always measured by innovation but by understanding and empathy. The success of Human Plus, his AI-driven emotional support platform, had shown him the profound impact of compassionate listening. Still, he grappled with the limitations of technology in addressing the deeply rooted prejudices and doctrines that shaped societal attitudes. The tension between progress and tradition came to a head during a private meeting between Elon and Pope Leo XIV. Held in a modest chapel within the Vatican, the conversation was candid and unfiltered. Elon began, "Your Holiness, we've made strides, but I sense a lingering hesitation. The world is changing, and the Church must decide whether to lead or follow." Pope Leo XIV responded thoughtfully, "Elon, the Church's role is not to chase trends but to uphold eternal truths. However, I acknowledge that our understanding of those truths must evolve as we engage with the lived experiences of our flock." Elon leaned forward, his voice earnest. "But how can we claim to understand if we don't listen? Human Plus has shown me that empathy can bridge divides. Perhaps the Church needs to embrace this approach, not just in words, but in actions." The Pope remained silent for a moment, reflecting on the proposition. "Listening is indeed a virtue," he conceded. "But we must also discern. Not every voice leads us closer to truth." Elon countered, "And yet, every voice deserves to be heard. Isn't that the essence of love?" The exchange underscored the fundamental challenge, reconciling the Church's doctrinal convictions with the evolving understanding of human dignity and rights. While both men recognized the importance of compassion, their paths to it differed. Elon saw technology as a means to facilitate understanding, while Pope Leo XIV viewed tradition as the anchor of moral guidance. Outside the Vatican, the global response to their initiatives was mixed. In progressive circles, the Pope's gestures were seen as a step forward, though many felt they fell short of the radical inclusivity needed. In conservative communities, the moves were met with skepticism and resistance, with critics accusing both the Pope and Elon of compromising core values. In the United States, debates raged across media platforms and dinner tables alike. Some Catholic leaders praised the Pope for his willingness to engage with contemporary issues, while others warned of the dangers of diluting doctrine. Elon, ever the provocateur, continued to challenge societal norms, advocating for a future where technology and faith coexisted harmoniously. Yet, amid the discourse, a quieter transformation was taking place. In parishes and communities around the world, individuals were beginning to question long-held beliefs. Conversations that once seemed taboo were now occurring openly. A mother in Kansas reconciled with her son after years of estrangement due to his sexuality. A priest in Ireland began offering pastoral care to LGBTQ+ individuals, despite the risk of censure. These personal stories, though small in scale, signaled a shift in the collective consciousness. As the year drew to a close, Pope Leo XIV convened a synod to address the ongoing tensions within the Church. The gathering brought together theologians, ethicists, and laypeople to discuss the intersection of doctrine and human experience. The Pope opened the proceedings with a candid admission: "We have not always been the Church we aspire to be. But we are still called to be a Church of mercy and truth." The synod's discussions were intense and often contentious. Some participants argued for a reaffirmation of traditional teachings, while others pushed for a more inclusive approach. Elon, invited as an observer, observed the proceedings with a sense of both hope and apprehension. He saw the potential for genuine dialogue but feared that entrenched positions might prevent meaningful change. In the final days of the synod, a compromise was proposed: the establishment of a commission to explore the theological and pastoral implications of same-sex relationships. The commission would be tasked with engaging with LGBTQ+ communities, studying relevant theological texts, and recommending pathways for greater inclusion. While not a doctrinal change, the proposal represented a significant shift in the Church's approach. Pope Leo XIV addressed the synod's conclusion with a message of cautious optimism. "This commission is not an end but a beginning," he stated. "It is an invitation to journey together, to listen, to learn, and to discern the path forward." Elon, reflecting on the events, felt a sense of ambivalence. The establishment of the commission was a step in the right direction, but he knew that true transformation required more than institutional initiatives; it required a change in hearts and minds. As the year ended, both Elon and Pope Leo XIV found themselves at a crossroads. The world had changed, and they had changed with it. Yet, the road ahead remained uncertain. Would the Church embrace the fullness of its calling to love and include all people? Could technology serve as a bridge to deeper understanding, or would it become another barrier? In the quiet moments of reflection, both men understood that the journey was ongoing. The conversation was unfinished, but it was no longer one-sided. And in that mutual listening, perhaps, lay the seeds of a new era. One where faith and reason, tradition and progress, could walk together toward a more inclusive future. The first days of the new year brought cold winds across Europe and a restless, shifting tone in the air. The world was still digesting the Vatican's announcement of the Theological Commission, some praising its boldness, others condemning it as cowardice, a halfway step that satisfied no one. For Pope Leo XIV, the silence after the synod was louder than the uproar before it. He spent long hours in prayer, in walks through the gardens, and in small, quiet meetings with survivors of rejection and exclusion who had written to him following his embrace of Lucia in St. Peter's Square. One such meeting stayed with him for weeks, a young seminarian from Poland, tears in his eyes, who had been dismissed from his order after confessing he was gay. "I wasn't asking to change doctrine," the young man said, voice trembling. "I just didn't want to lie anymore." The Pope said nothing at first, placing his hand on the young man's shoulder. He felt the weight of the Church's institutional silence pressing in around him. When he finally spoke, it was soft, unguarded. "The truth has been weaponized too often in our name. That must end." Meanwhile, Elon Musk was back in California, where Human Plus had just crossed 20 million active users. The program was evolving, more adaptive than ever, capable of holding extended conversations with people in distress, people struggling with faith, shame, and identity. But the more success it found, the more scrutiny it attracted. Civil liberties groups raised concerns about privacy. Religious conservatives accused it of moral overreach. One bishop even compared Human Plus to confession without absolution, therapy without soul. Elon dismissed the comparisons publicly, but privately he wrestled with the growing unease that something vital was missing. Human Plus could listen, offer empathy, suggest mental health resources, even cite scripture when prompted. But it could not offer absolution. It could not carry the human touch of a trembling hand in a pew or the grace of shared silence in a chapel. He brought this to a private conversation with Pope Leo XIV over a secure call one morning. Elon, ever direct, asked, "What if technology can only go so far? What if it can build the road but not walk it?" The Pope smiled gently. "Then you've discovered the boundary between tool and vocation. Roads are important. But people, only people, can accompany one another on the journey." Elon didn't respond right away. He was staring at a photo of his mother and father as young parents, taken decades earlier, before their separation, before the complexity. It reminded him that sometimes the pain of the past was the only thing strong enough to open space for real dialogue. "I want to ask you something strange," Elon said finally. "What if we did something together again? Not another debate. Not a speech. But something physical. Real." "You mean a gesture?" the Pope asked. "No," Elon said. "A pilgrimage." The Pope raised his eyebrows. "Explain." Elon outlined an idea. A journey, not for media, not for spectacle, but a walking pilgrimage across part of Europe. A path taken together by people from all walks of life, priests and engineers, mothers and monks, LGBTQ+ teens and traditionalist elders. A literal walk of listening. From Florence to Assisi, a path trod by saints, scholars, and seekers. The idea was radical and logistically nightmarish, but it captured something both men felt had been missing: shared physical space. Not online. Not televised. Real. Ground underfoot. Wind in their faces. The Pope didn't hesitate. "Let's do it." And so they did. With almost no announcement, the planning began. Quiet invitations went out through underground channels, personal letters, informal networks. The Vatican coordinated lodging, Elon's team arranged support infrastructure, and both agreed there would be no stage, no press corps, no branding. Just walking. Just talking. Just listening. On the first day of spring, the journey began. They started with 24 people. By the end of the first day, they were joined by another 40 who had heard about it by word of mouth. The Pope walked with a cane, slow but steady. Elon carried a small pack and mostly stayed quiet, preferring to listen to the conversations around him. The group walked in silence for long stretches. Then someone would speak, a story would surface, laughter would ripple, or tears would fall. One night, they camped near a vineyard and built a fire. An older Catholic couple shared how their son had come out 2 years earlier, how their first instinct had been shame, and how it took a young parish priest to gently lead them toward understanding. "We're not perfect," the mother said, eyes glistening, "but we're walking." That phrase became something of a refrain. Not perfect, but walking. On the 5th day, a conservative monk from Bavaria asked to join. He had criticized Elon publicly in the past, but now, face to face, his tone was different. "I still don't agree," he said honestly, "but maybe that's not the point anymore." On the 7th day, a transgender poet from France recited a piece about her baptism, her sense of alienation, and how she still dreamed of kneeling again at the altar without shame. The group walked in silence for over an hour after that, moved, shaken. Pope Leo XIV walked beside her later and asked, "Would you ever write something for the church?" She nodded, stunned. Would the church ever read it? "It already is," he replied. By the time they reached Assisi, they numbered more than 400. Journalists had begun circling the town, hungry for a story, but they were asked, gently but firmly, to wait outside. This wasn't a spectacle. It was sacred. The final day was spent in prayer and testimony inside the Basilica of St. Francis. Elon stood in the back, arms crossed, listening. He didn't speak until invited by one of the young walkers who had joined on day 3. "Just a few words," she said. Elon stepped forward, awkward as ever in formal settings. "I came here hoping to build something. I thought maybe we could use this walk to force a new path. But I learned something different. We're not building. We're remembering. This," he gestured around him, "this is who we are when we're not performing. Pilgrims. Questioners. People trying to love each other even when it's messy. That's the future I believe in. Not perfect. But walking." The crowd stood in reverent stillness. Then the Pope rose. His words were few. "We are not here to change the church. We are here to let the church remember its heart. And that begins, always, with listening." Outside, the bells of Assisi rang as the sun dipped behind the hills. The pilgrimage ended, but something enduring had begun. No laws had changed. No doctrines overturned. But hearts had moved. Walls had thinned. And the silence between opposing views had been replaced, finally, with words spoken not to win, but to understand. The world would debate it for years. Some would dismiss it as symbolic. Others would call it historic. But for those who walked, there was only one truth that mattered. They had walked toward one another. And in doing so, they had begun to walk toward something holy. The autumn of 2025 arrived with a sense of anticipation and trepidation. The world had watched as Pope Leo XIV and Elon Musk embarked on a historic pilgrimage across Europe, a journey that transcended the boundaries of faith, technology, and human connection. The pilgrimage had become a symbol of hope for many, a testament to the possibility of reconciliation between seemingly disparate worlds. In the quiet aftermath of their journey, both the Pope and Elon found themselves reflecting on the profound impact of their shared experience. The pilgrimage had not only brought them closer to each other but had also deepened their understanding of the complexities surrounding LGBTQ+ issues within the Church. Pope Leo XIV, known for his cautious and pragmatic approach, had been deeply moved by the stories and testimonies shared during the pilgrimage. The raw emotions and the courage displayed by individuals who had long been marginalized within the church had left an indelible mark on his heart. He realized that the path to reconciliation required more than gestures. It necessitated a fundamental shift in the church's approach to LGBTQ+ individuals. Elon, ever the innovator, recognized the limitations of technology in bridging the gap between doctrine and human experience. While Human Plus had provided a platform for emotional support, it lacked the human touch that was essential for true healing. The pilgrimage had reminded him that technology could facilitate connection, but it could not replace the need for genuine human interaction and understanding. As they returned to their respective roles, both men faced the challenge of translating the lessons learned during the pilgrimage into actionable change. Pope Leo XIV understood that the Church's teachings could not be altered overnight, but he believed that a pastoral approach rooted in compassion and empathy could pave the way for greater inclusion. Elon, on the other hand, saw an opportunity to leverage technology in support of the Church's mission. He proposed the development of a platform that would allow LGBTQ+ individuals to share their stories and experiences, fostering a sense of community and understanding. The platform would serve as a bridge between the Church and the LGBTQ+ community, providing a space for dialogue and mutual respect. The proposal was met with mixed reactions. Some within the Church viewed it as a step toward greater inclusion, while others expressed concerns about the potential challenges it might pose to traditional teachings. Nevertheless, Pope Leo XIV recognized the potential benefits of such an initiative and agreed to explore the idea further. In the months that followed, discussions ensued between church leaders, theologians, and technologists. The goal was to create a platform that would uphold the Church's teachings while providing a space for LGBTQ+ individuals to engage in meaningful dialogue. The platform would feature moderated discussions, educational resources, and personal testimonies, all aimed at fostering understanding and compassion. The development of the platform was not without its challenges. Balancing the Church's doctrinal positions with the diverse experiences of LGBTQ+ individuals required careful consideration and sensitivity. However, the commitment to dialogue and mutual respect guided the process, leading to the creation of a platform that was both inclusive and faithful to Catholic teachings. As the platform was launched, it garnered attention from both supporters and critics. Many praised the initiative as a groundbreaking step toward reconciliation, while others questioned its alignment with Church doctrine. Regardless of the differing opinions, the platform provided a space for conversation, a place where voices that had long been silenced could be heard. Pope Leo XIV, in his address at the platform's inauguration, emphasized the importance of listening and understanding. "The Church is called to be a sanctuary for all," he said. "In our differences, we find opportunities for growth and deeper communion. This platform is not a solution, but a step toward walking together in faith and love." Elon, standing beside the Pope, echoed these sentiments. "Technology can connect us," he said. "But it is our shared humanity that binds us together. This platform is a testament to the power of listening, learning, and evolving." The launch of the platform marked a significant moment in the ongoing journey toward reconciliation. It was not a panacea, nor was it without its flaws, but it represented a willingness to engage, to understand, and to move forward together. In the years that followed, the platform continued to serve as a space for dialogue and reflection. It became a model for other faith communities seeking to navigate complex issues with compassion and integrity. While challenges remained, the commitment to reconciliation and understanding remained steadfast. The pilgrimage of 2025, once seen as a singular event, had ignited a movement rooted in the belief that through dialogue, empathy, and shared humanity, healing and reconciliation were possible. And as Pope Leo XIV and Elon Musk had discovered, sometimes the most profound journeys are those that lead us back to each other. The digital age had ushered in unprecedented connectivity, yet it also highlighted the profound isolation many individuals felt. In the wake of the pilgrimage, both Pope Leo XIV and Elon Musk recognized the need to bridge this gap, not just through physical journeys but also through the vast expanse of the digital realm. Pope Leo XIV, reflecting on the success of the pilgrimage, saw it as a model for how the Church could engage with the world. Not as an institution imposing doctrine, but as a compassionate presence walking alongside individuals in their struggles and joys. He envisioned a platform that would allow the Church to reach beyond the walls of its buildings, offering support, dialogue, and understanding to those who felt marginalized or disconnected. Elon Musk, with his deep understanding of technology's potential, saw an opportunity to create a digital space that mirrored the inclusivity and empathy of the pilgrimage. He proposed the development of an online platform, Pilgrimage Connect, that would serve as a virtual space for individuals to share their stories, seek guidance, and find community. The platform would integrate advanced AI to facilitate meaningful conversations, provide resources, and connect users with others on similar journeys. The collaboration between the Vatican and Musk's team was unprecedented. The Church, traditionally cautious about technological ventures, found in Musk a partner who shared its commitment to human dignity and compassion. Together, they assembled a team of theologians, ethicists, technologists, and community leaders to design a platform that was both spiritually enriching and technologically sound. The development process was meticulous. The platform's design emphasized simplicity and accessibility, ensuring that individuals from all walks of life could navigate it with ease. AI-driven chatbots were programmed to offer empathetic responses, drawing from a vast database of theological texts, psychological resources, and personal testimonies. Moderated forums allowed users to engage in respectful dialogue, sharing experiences and insights without fear of judgment. One of the platform's most innovative features was its virtual pilgrimage program. Users could embark on a guided journey through various spiritual practices, including prayer, meditation, and reflection exercises. Each step was designed to foster a deeper connection with oneself, others, and the divine. The program also included virtual retreats, where users could participate in live-streamed masses, lectures, and discussions with spiritual leaders. As the platform neared its launch, Pope Leo XIV addressed the global Church, emphasizing the importance of embracing new technologies as tools for evangelization and community building. In this digital age, he said, we are called to be shepherds not just in our physical parishes but also in the virtual spaces where many seek meaning and connection. Pilgrimage Connect is not just a platform, it is an extension of our mission to walk with all God's children, wherever they may be. Elon Musk, in his remarks, highlighted the potential of technology to foster genuine human connection. While technology can sometimes isolate us, he noted, it also has the power to bring us together. Pilgrimage Connect is a testament to what we can achieve when we use technology to serve humanity, to listen, to understand, and to support one another. The launch of Pilgrimage Connect was met with widespread acclaim. Users from around the world praised the platform's inclusive approach and its commitment to fostering genuine dialogue. Many LGBTQ+ individuals, who had long felt alienated from the Church, expressed gratitude for the space to share their stories and seek spiritual guidance without fear of condemnation. However, the platform also faced criticism. Some conservative factions within the Church questioned the integration of AI in spiritual matters, expressing concerns about the authenticity of virtual interactions. Others feared that the platform's inclusive nature might lead to doctrinal compromises. In response, Pope Leo XIV reiterated the Church's commitment to its teachings while emphasizing the importance of pastoral care and understanding. The Church's teachings remain steadfast, he affirmed. But our approach to those teachings must be rooted in love, compassion, and respect for the dignity of every person. Pilgrimage Connect is an invitation to engage, to listen, and to walk together in faith. Over time, Pilgrimage Connect became a vital resource for individuals seeking spiritual support and community. It facilitated connections between people who might never have met otherwise, fostering a global network of individuals united by their shared faith and experiences. The platform also served as a valuable tool for the Church to gather insights into the needs and concerns of its members, informing future initiatives and outreach efforts. Pope Leo XIV and Elon Musk continued their collaboration, exploring new ways to integrate technology and spirituality. Their partnership became a model for how faith and innovation could coexist, each enhancing the other in the pursuit of a more compassionate and connected world. As the years passed, the legacy of their work endured. The digital pilgrimage they had initiated continued to inspire future generations to seek meaning, to connect with others, and to walk together in faith, both online and in the world. The digital age had ushered in unprecedented connectivity, yet it also highlighted the profound isolation many individuals felt. In the wake of the pilgrimage, both Pope Leo XIV and Elon Musk recognized the need to bridge this gap, not just through physical journeys but also through the vast expanse of the digital realm. Pope Leo XIV, reflecting on the success of the pilgrimage, saw it as a model for how the Church could engage with the world. Not as an institution imposing doctrine, but as a compassionate presence walking alongside individuals in their struggles and joys. He envisioned a platform that would allow the Church to reach beyond the walls of its buildings, offering support, dialogue, and understanding to those who felt marginalized or disconnected. Elon Musk, with his deep understanding of technology's potential, saw an opportunity to create a digital space that mirrored the inclusivity and empathy of the pilgrimage. He proposed the development of an online platform, Pilgrimage Connect, that would serve as a virtual space for individuals to share their stories, seek guidance, and find community. The platform would integrate advanced AI to facilitate meaningful conversations, provide resources, and connect users with others on similar journeys. The collaboration between the Vatican and Musk's team was unprecedented. The Church, traditionally cautious about technological ventures, found in Musk a partner who shared its commitment to human dignity and compassion. Together, they assembled a team of theologians, ethicists, technologists, and community leaders to design a platform that was both spiritually enriching and technologically sound. The development process was meticulous. The platform's design emphasized simplicity and accessibility, ensuring that individuals from all walks of life could navigate it with ease. AI-driven chatbots were programmed to offer empathetic responses, drawing from a vast database of theological texts, psychological resources, and personal testimonies. Moderated forums allowed users to engage in respectful dialogue, sharing experiences and insights without fear of judgment. One of the platform's most innovative features was its virtual pilgrimage program. Users could embark on a guided journey through various spiritual practices, including prayer, meditation, and reflection exercises. Each step was designed to foster a deeper connection with oneself, others, and the divine. The program also included virtual retreats, where users could participate in live-streamed masses, lectures, and discussions with spiritual leaders. As the platform neared its launch, Pope Leo XIV addressed the global Church, emphasizing the importance of embracing new technologies as tools for evangelization and community building. In this digital age, he said, we are called to be shepherds not just in our physical parishes but also in the virtual spaces where many seek meaning and connection. Pilgrimage Connect is not just a platform, it is an extension of our mission to walk with all God's children, wherever they may be. Elon Musk, in his remarks, highlighted the potential of technology to foster genuine human connection. While technology can sometimes isolate us, he noted, it also has the power to bring us together. Pilgrimage Connect is a testament to what we can achieve when we use technology to serve humanity, to listen, to understand, and to support one another. The launch of Pilgrimage Connect was met with widespread acclaim. Users from around the world praised the platform's inclusive approach and its commitment to fostering genuine dialogue. Many LGBTQ+ individuals, who had long felt alienated from the Church, expressed gratitude for the space to share their stories and seek spiritual guidance without fear of condemnation. However, the platform also faced criticism. Some conservative factions within the Church questioned the integration of AI in spiritual matters, expressing concerns about the authenticity of virtual interactions. Others feared that the platform's inclusive nature might lead to doctrinal compromises. In response, Pope Leo XIV reiterated the Church's commitment to its teachings while emphasizing the importance of pastoral care and understanding. The Church's teachings remain steadfast, he affirmed. But our approach to those teachings must be rooted in love, compassion, and respect for the dignity of every person. Pilgrimage Connect is an invitation to engage, to listen, and to walk together in faith. Over time, Pilgrimage Connect became a vital resource for individuals seeking spiritual support and community. It facilitated connections between people who might never have met otherwise, fostering a global network of individuals united by their shared faith and experiences. The platform also served as a valuable tool for the Church to gather insights into the needs and concerns of its members, informing future initiatives and outreach efforts. Pope Leo XIV and Elon Musk continued their collaboration, exploring new ways to integrate technology and spirituality. Their partnership became a model for how faith and innovation could coexist, each enhancing the other in the pursuit of a more compassionate and connected world. As the years passed, the legacy of their work endured. The digital pilgrimage they had initiated continued to inspire future generations to seek meaning, to connect with others, and to walk together in faith, both online and in the world. The Vatican had always been a place of tradition, a sanctuary where centuries of doctrine and ritual were preserved with reverence. Yet, in the spring of 2026, the ancient walls of St. Peter's Basilica echoed with a new kind of discourse, a dialogue between faith and technology, between the sacred and the scientific. Pope Leo XIV, the first American pontiff, had invited Elon Musk to the heart of Catholicism, not for a theological debate, but for a conversation about the future of humanity. The meeting was set in the Apostolic Palace, a place where popes had met with kings and presidents, but this time, the visitor was a tech mogul whose ventures spanned from electric cars to space exploration. The world watched with bated breath as the two men prepared to discuss matters that transcended their individual domains. Pope Leo XIV, known for his contemplative nature and deep spirituality, had always believed in the power of dialogue. He had spent years listening to the faithful, understanding their struggles, and seeking ways to bring the Church closer to the people. His recent statements had emphasized the importance of compassion and inclusivity, even as he upheld traditional Catholic teachings on marriage and family. The resurfacing of his 2012 comments had caused concern among LGBTQ+ advocates, but Leo had expressed a desire to build bridges and foster understanding. Elon Musk, on the other hand, was a man of action. His innovations had reshaped industries and challenged conventional thinking. Yet, beneath his entrepreneurial spirit lay a man who grappled with the complexities of human existence. His experiences with the LGBTQ+ community had been personal and profound, leading him to seek a deeper understanding of faith and its role in the modern world. As they sat across from each other, the weight of history seemed to hang in the air. The conversation began with pleasantries, but soon delved into deeper waters. Musk spoke of his ventures into artificial intelligence and space colonization, expressing a vision of humanity that was interconnected and boundless. He spoke of the need for a moral compass in the face of rapid technological advancement. Pope Leo XIV listened intently, his gaze steady and thoughtful. He acknowledged the potential of technology to transform lives but cautioned against the dangers of losing touch with the human soul. Technology, he said, can illuminate the path, but it is love and compassion that guide our steps. The discussion then turned to the Church's stance on LGBTQ+ issues. Musk, with his characteristic candor, asked, "How can we reconcile the teachings of the Church with the lived experiences of LGBTQ+ individuals?" Leo paused, reflecting on the question. The Church's teachings are rooted in tradition, he began, but tradition must not be a barrier to understanding. We must listen, learn, and evolve. Musk nodded, sensing the sincerity in Leo's words. But how do we address the pain caused by exclusion? Leo's expression softened. By opening our hearts. By embracing the dignity of every person, regardless of their identity. The conversation continued late into the evening, touching on topics of faith, technology, and the future of humanity. Both men recognized the challenges ahead, but they also saw the potential for collaboration. Leo spoke of the Church's mission to serve the marginalized, while Musk spoke of his desire to use technology to uplift the human spirit. As the meeting concluded, there was a sense of mutual respect and understanding. The world had witnessed a dialogue that transcended differences, a conversation that held the promise of a more inclusive and compassionate future. In the days that followed, the Vatican announced the formation of a new initiative, the Pontifical Commission for Technology and Humanity. The Commission's mission was to explore the ethical implications of technological advancements and to ensure that innovation served the common good. Elon Musk was invited to serve as an advisor, a role he accepted with humility. The collaboration between the Vatican and Musk's ventures marked a new chapter in the relationship between faith and technology. It was a partnership built on dialogue, respect, and a shared commitment to the dignity of every human being. As the sun set over the Vatican, casting long shadows over the cobblestones, there was a sense that the crossroads of faith and innovation had been navigated with grace. The journey ahead was uncertain, but the path was illuminated by the light of understanding and the promise of a future where faith and technology walked hand in hand. The digital age had ushered in unprecedented connectivity, yet it also highlighted the profound isolation many individuals felt. In the wake of the pilgrimage, both Pope Leo XIV and Elon Musk recognized the need to bridge this gap, not just through physical journeys but also through the vast expanse of the digital realm. Pope Leo XIV, reflecting on the success of the pilgrimage, saw it as a model for how the Church could engage with the world, not as an institution imposing doctrine, but as a compassionate presence walking alongside individuals in their struggles and joys. He envisioned a platform that would allow the Church to reach beyond the walls of its buildings, offering support, dialogue, and understanding to those who felt marginalized or disconnected. Elon Musk, with his deep understanding of technology's potential, saw an opportunity to create a digital space that mirrored the inclusivity and empathy of the pilgrimage. He proposed the development of an online platform, Pilgrimage Connect, that would serve as a virtual space for individuals to share their stories, seek guidance, and find community. The platform would integrate advanced AI to facilitate meaningful conversations, provide resources, and connect users with others on similar journeys. The collaboration between the Vatican and Musk's team was unprecedented. The Church, traditionally cautious about technological ventures, found in Musk a partner who shared its commitment to human dignity and compassion. Together, they assembled a team of theologians, ethicists, technologists, and community leaders to design a platform that was both spiritually enriching and technologically sound. The development process was meticulous. The platform's design emphasized simplicity and accessibility, ensuring that individuals from all walks of life could navigate it with ease. AI-driven chatbots were programmed to offer empathetic responses, drawing from a vast database of theological texts, psychological resources, and personal testimonies. Moderated forums allowed users to engage in respectful dialogue, sharing experiences and insights without fear of judgment. One of the platform's most innovative features was its virtual pilgrimage program. Users could embark on a guided journey through various spiritual practices, including prayer, meditation, and reflection exercises. Each step was designed to foster a deeper connection with oneself, others, and the divine. The program also included virtual retreats, where users could participate in live-streamed masses, lectures, and discussions with spiritual leaders. As the platform neared its launch, Pope Leo XIV addressed the global Church, emphasizing the importance of embracing new technologies as tools for evangelization and community building. In this digital age, he said, we are called to be shepherds not just in our physical parishes but also in the virtual spaces where many seek meaning and connection. Pilgrimage Connect is not just a platform, it is an extension of our mission to walk with all God's children, wherever they may be. Elon Musk, in his remarks, highlighted the potential of technology to foster genuine human connection. While technology can sometimes isolate us, he noted, it also has the power to bring us together. Pilgrimage Connect is a testament to what we can achieve when we use technology to serve humanity, to listen, to understand, and to support one another. The launch of Pilgrimage Connect was met with widespread acclaim. Users from around the world praised the platform's inclusive approach and its commitment to fostering genuine dialogue. Many LGBTQ+ individuals, who had long felt alienated from the church, expressed gratitude for the space to share their stories and seek spiritual guidance without fear of condemnation. However, the platform also faced criticism. Some conservative factions within the church questioned the integration of AI in spiritual matters, expressing concerns about the authenticity of virtual interactions. Others feared that the platform's inclusive nature might lead to doctrinal compromises. In response, Pope Leo XIV reiterated the Church's commitment to its teachings while emphasizing the importance of pastoral care and understanding. The Church's teachings remain steadfast, he affirmed. But our approach to those teachings must be rooted in love, compassion, and respect for the dignity of every person. Pilgrimage Connect is an invitation to engage, to listen, and to walk together in faith. Over time, Pilgrimage Connect became a vital resource for individuals seeking spiritual support and community. It facilitated connections between people who might never have met otherwise, fostering a global network of individuals united by their shared faith and experiences. The platform also served as a valuable tool for the Church to gather insights into the needs and concerns of its members, informing future initiatives and outreach efforts. Pope Leo XIV and Elon Musk continued their collaboration, exploring new ways to integrate technology and spirituality. Their partnership became a model for how faith and innovation could coexist, each enhancing the other in the pursuit of a more compassionate and connected world. As the years passed, the legacy of their work endured. The digital pilgrimage they had initiated continued to inspire future generations to seek meaning, to connect with others, and to walk together in faith, both online and in the world. The Vatican had always been a place of tradition, a sanctuary where centuries of doctrine and ritual were preserved with reverence. Yet, in the spring of 2026, the ancient walls of St. Peter's Basilica echoed with a new kind of discourse, a dialogue between faith and technology, between the sacred and the scientific. Pope Leo XIV, the first American pontiff, had invited Elon Musk to the heart of Catholicism, not for a theological debate, but for a conversation about the future of humanity. The meeting was set in the Apostolic Palace, a place where popes had met with kings and presidents, but this time, the visitor was a tech mogul whose ventures spanned from electric cars to space exploration. The world watched with bated breath as the two men prepared to discuss matters that transcended their individual domains. Pope Leo XIV, known for his contemplative nature and deep spirituality, had always believed in the power of dialogue. He had spent years listening to the faithful, understanding their struggles, and seeking ways to bring the Church closer to the people. His recent statements had emphasized the importance of compassion and inclusivity, even as he upheld traditional Catholic teachings on marriage and family. The resurfacing of his 2012 comments had caused concern among LGBTQ+ advocates, but Leo had expressed a desire to build bridges and foster understanding. Elon Musk, on the other hand, was a man of action. His innovations had reshaped industries and challenged conventional thinking. Yet, beneath his entrepreneurial spirit lay a man who grappled with the complexities of human existence. His experiences with the LGBTQ+ community had been personal and profound, leading him to seek a deeper understanding of faith and its role in the modern world. As they sat across from each other, the weight of history seemed to hang in the air. The conversation began with pleasantries, but soon delved into deeper waters. Musk spoke of his ventures into artificial intelligence and space colonization, expressing a vision of humanity that was interconnected and boundless. He spoke of the need for a moral compass in the face of rapid technological advancement. Pope Leo XIV listened intently, his gaze steady and thoughtful. He acknowledged the potential of technology to transform lives but cautioned against the dangers of losing touch with the human soul. Technology, he said, can illuminate the path, but it is love and compassion that guide our steps. The discussion then turned to the Church's stance on LGBTQ+ issues. Musk, with his characteristic candor, asked, "How can we reconcile the teachings of the Church with the lived experiences of LGBTQ+ individuals?" Leo paused, reflecting on the question. "The Church's teachings are rooted in tradition," he began, "but tradition must not be a barrier to understanding. We must listen, learn, and evolve." Musk nodded, sensing the sincerity in Leo's words. But how do we address the pain caused by exclusion? Leo's expression softened. By opening our hearts. By embracing the dignity of every person, regardless of their identity. The conversation continued late into the evening, touching on topics of faith, technology, and the future of humanity. Both men recognized the challenges ahead, but they also saw the potential for collaboration. Leo spoke of the Church's mission to serve the marginalized, while Musk spoke of his desire to use technology to uplift the human spirit. As the meeting concluded, there was a sense of mutual respect and understanding. The world had witnessed a dialogue that transcended differences, a conversation that held the promise of a more inclusive and compassionate future. In the days that followed, the Vatican announced the formation of a new initiative, the Pontifical Commission for Technology and Humanity. The Commission's mission was to explore the ethical implications of technological advancements and to ensure that innovation served the common good. Elon Musk was invited to serve as an advisor, a role he accepted with humility. The collaboration between the Vatican and Musk's ventures marked a new chapter in the relationship between faith and technology. It was a partnership built on dialogue, respect, and a shared commitment to the dignity of every human being. As the sun set over the Vatican, casting long shadows over the cobblestones, there was a sense that the crossroads of faith and innovation had been navigated with grace. The journey ahead was uncertain, but the path was illuminated by the light of understanding and the promise of a future where faith and technology walked hand in hand. The announcement of the Pontifical Commission for Technology and Humanity sparked waves far beyond the marble halls of the Vatican. What began as a hopeful dialogue between Pope Leo XIV and Elon Musk had morphed into a movement, a ripple effect that challenged old paradigms and inspired new conversations in homes, churches, universities, and online forums across America and the world. The initial media frenzy was a double-edged sword. Headlines ranged from praise for the Church's openness to harsh criticism accusing it of diluting sacred teachings for the sake of modern relevance. But for many ordinary people, the story was deeply personal. LGBTQ+ Catholics who had long felt invisible found themselves cautiously hopeful, while traditional believers struggled to reconcile their faith with the shifting landscape. Among those watching closely was Emily Brooks, a 32-year-old Catholic school teacher from Ohio. Raised in a devout family, Emily had wrestled for years with her own identity as a lesbian, afraid to reveal her truth to a community she loved. The news about Pope Leo's initiative and his collaboration with Musk ignited something in her, a flicker of courage and curiosity. She joined Pilgrimage Connect, the digital platform co-created by the Pope and Musk, hoping to find a place where she could finally feel seen without judgment. Emily's journey through the platform was transformative. The virtual retreats and interactive dialogues brought her closer to her faith than ever before, and for the first time, she found stories and voices that mirrored her own experience. A moderated forum called Bridges of Belonging became her refuge, where she exchanged messages with others navigating similar struggles, parents, teens, priests, and activists all seeking a path forward. At the same time, the ripple effect touched the halls of power. Politicians and religious leaders debated the Church's evolving stance, forcing long-ignored questions to the surface. Could faith and science, tradition and innovation, coexist without one eroding the other? How would families reconcile generations divided on the issue of same-sex marriage? Would the Church's message of love finally break through centuries of exclusion? In this heated atmosphere, a young priest named Father Daniel Collins emerged as a powerful voice of reconciliation. Stationed in a small parish in Philadelphia, Father Daniel had witnessed the fractures caused by these debates firsthand, families torn apart, parishioners leaving in disillusionment. He saw Pilgrimage Connect as more than a tool. It was a lifeline. With the support of his bishop, Father Daniel organized a series of community gatherings centered on dialogue and healing. The sessions were raw and real, parents confronting fears, LGBTQ+ Catholics sharing pain and hope, elders wrestling with doctrine and empathy. Through tears and laughter, anger and forgiveness, something remarkable happened, walls crumbled, and bridges formed. Meanwhile, Elon Musk continued to push the boundaries of his own vision. Inspired by the Vatican's willingness to engage, he expanded the digital pilgrimage concept into other realms. A pilot project launched in partnership with several universities created virtual reality experiences where users could walk through historic moments of faith and human rights struggles. This immersive approach helped users appreciate the complexity of social change and the enduring power of compassion. Back in Rome, Pope Leo XIV reflected on the journey. The challenges were far from over. Critics still voiced doubts, and the path ahead was uncertain. But he felt a profound sense of peace. This was a moment when faith met the future, not as an adversary, but as a guiding light. In a rare interview with an American news outlet, the Pope shared a deeply personal insight: the heart of the gospel is love, radical, unconditional, and transformative. If we can embrace that love fully, then the Church can become a home for all, even when the road is difficult. This is not a compromise but a call to courage. The ripple effect was not without setbacks. A prominent conservative bishop publicly condemned the Commission's work, accusing Pope Leo XIV of betraying church teachings. Protests erupted outside several cathedrals in the United States, with chants and signs demanding a return to traditional values. These moments tested the resolve of those invested in change. Yet, amid the tension, stories of grace and transformation multiplied. A mother in Texas reconciled with her son after years of silence, thanks to a pastoral letter inspired by the Commission's work. A high school student in New York found the strength to come out to her family after engaging with the digital pilgrimage. A former skeptic in Chicago volunteered to moderate online forums after witnessing the platform's impact firsthand. At the heart of these stories was the profound realization that love, complex, imperfect, and persistent, was the true catalyst for change. The dialogue between Elon Musk and Pope Leo XIV had opened a door, but it was the people who walked through it, step by step, who carried the movement forward. As the chapter closed on 2026, the Church and its followers stood at a crossroads, not defined by a single answer, but by a shared commitment to journey together. In this unfolding story, every voice mattered, every story was sacred, and every act of courage was a testament to the enduring power of faith and hope. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough?